Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name's Emily if you're new here. Today's video is going to be my November wrap up. So in the month of November I read a total of 6, yes, technically 5, but then 1 short story. So 6 reads in total I read in the month of November, plus I also participated in NaNoWriMo. I didn't unfortunately succeed in finishing NaNoWriMo. I did end up writing 36,000 words out of the 50,000. So overall, I still feel like that was a really good go. So I'm really happy with everything that I progressed in the month of November. My reading, even though I didn't read a lot, I still felt like I did read a good chunk of what I wanted to read, and also prioritizing NaNoWriMo because that was really important to me. I really wanted to pursue my writing. I'm very happy with the way my novel is going at the moment. I have probably around maybe 20,000 more words that I'd like to complete at least for this novel, but we'll see. We're still going and I'm really enjoying where the story's going. I cannot wait to announce more to come on The River Serpent, which is what my novel is called. So I'm really excited to continue writing as well. So hopefully by the end of December I will have my first draft finalized, but we'll see how we go. So yes, the first book that I read in November was A Haunting on the Hill by Elizabeth Hand. I ended up giving this one a 3 out of 5 stars. Honestly, I was very disappointed with how the story went. In the beginning, the first 30%, I was absolutely enthralled in reliving The Haunting of Hill House, but unfortunately the characters were super unreliable, they were unlikable, and the plot where it took off from originally entering Hill House and then about the play and the playwriting, and that just kind of like threw me off from the depth of Hill House. Like, The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson is an iconic gothic horror novel, and it is one that has stood out to me this year, and I really enjoyed my time reading it. It was very atmospheric, very unsettling. We had an unreliable character. Eleanor was definitely unreliable, but these characters that we were pursuing in A Haunting of the Hill was just unfortunately not. I wasn't interested in their backstories. Like, we got a lot of their backstories, like a little bit too much. I felt like we went back in their backstories, basically their life story, and it had nothing to do with Hill House. So that's why I just kind of didn't really enjoy my time reading it. I felt like Elizabeth Hand did capture the essence of the unsettling moments in Hill House. There was definitely some unsettling moments, and the descriptions that Elizabeth Hand wrote I really did enjoy in regards to Hill House. A Haunting on the Hill definitely was more paranormal-esque than The Haunting of Hill House. Haunting on the Hill was definitely more real-life horrors, so that's what I found the difference to be. But I just felt like the main characters in A Haunting on the Hill were just so unlikable, and I just could not care less about their backstory and their relationships. I really just could not care. So that's why it kind of was a letdown for me, but I did read it quite quickly. I listened to it by audio, and the narration of the audiobook was kind of interesting. There was a lot of little sound effects that were in the audiobook, which I did enjoy. So then obviously when Nisa, which was one of the main characters, would sing, because she was a singer-songwriter, it was quite like eerie the way that it was portrayed. So I did like that, but then it got repetitive as well. So there was a lot of repetitiveness in it that was not really necessary in my opinion, but glad that I did read it just to see if it lived up to The Haunting of Hill House, but it unfortunately did not. The next book that I read was Your Lonely Nights Are Over by Adam Sass. I actually gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed this book. It is a queer horror, a YA horror slasher. So basically we follow Cole and Deary, and they are both gay, and they both were a part of this queer book club. Well, this club, I don't know if it was a book club, but it was a club. There was this killer, I think 20 years ago, called Mr. Sandman, and then things start happening in the present timeline. So Mr. Sandman has come back, and obviously at the time they assumed it is a copycat. So Mr. Sandman starts targeting a lot of the group members of the queer club, and so we basically follow Cole and Deary and them having to deal with their friends being attacked and killed, and it was very on the edge of your seat vibes. Like, I definitely enjoyed my time reading it. It was a quick read. I also listened to it by audio. We had a dual POV. We both got POVs of Deary and Cole, and I did like both their characters a lot. I really connected with both of them. I thought they were really funny. They had a great friendship and I absolutely loved it. And then obviously there was some very unsettling moments with the killer, but I did find it to be quite like slashery, and that's what I really enjoyed about it, is I wanted a slasher and I got that. So I did enjoy it. I would recommend it for anyone who was interested. It was a very fun time. Next book that I read was The Modern Girl's Guide to Magic by Lindsay Hall. This is a part of the series The Charming Cove, and this is the first book in that series, following our main character Aria, and she's a witch who lives in London, and her whole life she has never been able to wield magic the way that her grandma or her friends were able to, and she always thought there was something wrong with her. She used to be bullied in school about not being able to wield magic because she could never practice properly, like it would always blow up in her face. So then she kind of just moved away from Charming Cove and wanted to separate herself from the witches that lived there. And then her grandma comes and says, you need to come home, there is a tournament that is happening for us to acquire this greenhouse, basically, because the person who owns the greenhouse is retiring and he wants to have this tournament to see who the best witch is and who will be able to take over his legacy. And so Aria's like, why would I be a part of this? Like, I am terrible at magic, but goes back anyways. So then she ends up coming across Callan Hawthorne, who she had met, I think 7 years ago. He did something that really broke her trust towards him, and she hated him for it. And then he comes back and he's like a very, very famous mage, and he basically is like all over the tabloids. Everyone knows him, he's wealthy, he has a lot of buildings in Charming Cove, and Aria despises him for it, and it's an enemies to lovers. It was a fun time. It was kind of cringy at some moments, but it was like it's a new adult, but there was like no spice, so that was kind of disappointing. And the one scene that was spice was really bad. Like, honestly, it was written so poorly in my opinion, but I did end up giving this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Like, I did enjoy my time reading it, and it was a very quick read for me because I just wanted that witchy romance vibe, but I kind of wish that I picked up something a little bit more spicy. Like, I absolutely frothed The XX by Erin Sterling. I love that book so much. That was like the witchy vibes that I wanted, and I just didn't get that with this book. But obviously totally two different books, but I, like I said, did enjoy my time reading it. So then we obviously just follow Aria go through the tournament and her trying to get back her magic, and Carlin ends up helping her. So it was cute. That's all I have to say. The next read that I finished was actually The Fall of the House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe. I only read The Fall of the House of Usher, the short story. It is around 17 pages or so. I really enjoyed this. I'm not going to rate it, but I really enjoyed it. It was definitely very gothic. Edgar Allan Poe's writing is very atmospheric, and I definitely felt immersed reading The Fall of the House of Usher. There was a lot of descriptive words that were in this story, and I really enjoyed the grotesque writing style. Like, the show adaptation, that's why I wanted to read it, is very grotesque, and I also found the similarities in the original work. So I really enjoyed my time reading it, and I definitely will be continuing on with this collection, and I'm hoping that I will be able to read all of the Edgar Allan Poe short stories because I really enjoy his writing style. The next book that I read, which took me around a month and a half to read, but I finally finished it, by Stephen King, and I do have a full spoiler review coming soon to my channel. This took me a month and a half to read, but I loved it. I ended up giving it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I honestly marked it down by 0.5 of a star, specifically for the last 100 pages of this book. Now, I think it would be about 100 pages. It was something else. The ending, when people say like they get turned off by it specifically for the ending, I totally understand why, but also the whole book was a wild ride, and I really enjoyed my time. Every time that I would pick it up again, I would remember right where I was up to when I previously was listening to it. I did hybrid read this book. I read it physically and also on audio, but when I would pick it up on audiobook, I would remember straight away where I was up to. I just really connected with all the characters. I absolutely loved the Losers Club so much. Like, I loved all of these characters except for freaking, obviously, except for Pennywise, except for Henry Bowers and his fucking stupid ass petty gang. I literally despise Henry Bowers as a character so much. Like, my blood boils when I think about him as a character. He is the most hated, disgusting character that I have ever come across in any book of my entire existence of reading. I hate him with every fiber of my being. I found him more grotesque and terrifying than Pennywise, to be honest. And obviously Pennywise is known in it as the monster, but Henry Bowers was a lot worse in my opinion. And I'm going to get into it all when I do my review, but I loved it. So the narrator, Stephen Weber, who narrated this book on audio, on Audible, absolutely phenomenal. I would give him 1,000 stars on his narration of this book. I was blown away with every single character's dialogue. Bill had his stutter, and the way that he had stuttered in the narration, it just brought it so to life. Like, I absolutely loved my time listening to the audiobook. It was so well done, and that's why I was so immersed in the stories, because I would just be like brought into the world straight away just listening to this narrator. It was phenomenal, honestly. To be honest, the movie adaptation, the ending of part 2, if you know, you know. So Mike, let's just say Mikey, right? The ending of the movie adaptation I liked because he got an arc redemption. The ending for him, I felt like, was a lot better than the book ending. I was very disappointed with how Mikey was portrayed at the end of this book. He did not get his fair chance. That's all I'm going to say, is he was done dirty in the book, and I'm not very happy about it. I'm a bit salty, but at least I know that they kind of gave him that chance in the movie adaptation. So this is a very chunky book, and I'm so proud of myself that I finally read it, because I really enjoyed my time with it. I definitely will be reading more of Stephen King. I'm hoping to read The Shining in the next few months, but I had a really good time the whole way through reading this book. And then the final book that I read in the month of November was Ice Planet Barbarians by Ruby Dixon, and I gave this one a 3 out of 5 stars. I just did a reading vlog for this book. I'll put it in the cards, but this was a wild ride, guys. Like, honestly, Alien Smut. The first Alien Smut that I have ever read, and it was definitely interesting to say the least. We basically follow our main character Georgie, and she gets abducted by aliens and then gets taken to this planet. Well, pretty much the ship that she was abducted on has like a breakdown, and it breaks down onto this ice planet, and so her and 6 other women are on board of the ship, and they're living in disgusting, obviously there's feces and just things like that. Like, it was very unsettling on the actual spaceship, and then getting off into like -degree weather, she has to go and find help. There is oxygen on this planet. I'm sure there's other people living here. And so then she comes across Vectel, who is a barbarian. And so Vectel has to help her rescue these girls and find themselves a way out of this planet. But she comes across a lot of dramas that happens, and like Vectel falls in love with her and like wants to mate with her. Georgie becomes his sweet resonance, and his Kui just responds to her, and they don't know how to communicate with each other because they don't speak the same language, because they're different species. It was just a very wild ride. It was a very wild ride. So if you want to know more about Ice Planet Barbarians, go and watch my vlog, because I had a lot of thoughts as well. So anyways, that concludes my November wrap up. I really hope you all enjoyed. Let me know down in the comments below what was your favorite read in the month of November. Thank you guys so much for watching again. Please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. It really helps my channel grow, and I'll see you on my next one.